I was honored and pleased when Paul asked me to do this introduction for this year's recipient of the Distinguished Merit Award. Everybody in here knows Dick Bruce. Can you not hear me back there? I'm sorry. Eat the microphone. That's what Matthew said. Everybody in here is certainly familiar with Dick Prust. He was with the college from 1967 until 2010, if I am correct. 43 years. He grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Was born his birthday is actually coming up, if I recall correctly, and got his bachelor's degree at the University of Wisconsin, went on to Yale to get a bachelor's of divinity, was ordained in the United Methodist Church the same year, 1964, got his doctoral degree whilst here from Duke in 1970, and was a fixture here for years and years and years in more ways than one. And I first had the pleasure of meeting Dick in the fall of 1970 when I came here as a freshman, and got to know him extremely well over the 4 years I was here, both in the classroom and out of the classroom. He was an inspiration. He challenged us. He required us to come prepared or we would pay. If not in the classroom, in the dining hall or in the dorms or wherever. He was a wonderful, wonderful mentor to many, many, many folks here, which I don't have to tell probably anybody in this room. But I have to tell a story. And I have to tell a fun story, not a serious story, and then I'll end, because we've all promised to be brief, but both Brew Baker and I are trial lawyers, and that's very difficult for us. One time in the spring, when I was a freshman, the spring of 1971, the word was that Prust and Bushhoven and Bays and Jeff Gross and some other folks were renting a house on Pawleys Island. And there was extended, probably not wisely by that group, an invitation to my group of people in Suite 8 Winston-Salem to, if we wanted to come crash on their floor, we could do that at Pawleys Island. We wanted to go to the beach, so it was a perfect invitation. Fun, frivolity, and food. So we went, we had a wonderful dinner, and then Dr. Prust took us on the beach for a midnight walk, and he proceeded to pontificate about astrology and astronomy, and he identified stars and constellations, and we were all freshmen in college and a little bit in awe of him, and he'd had a few beers. We were entertained, and he was incredibly entertaining, and he taught us the history and the folklore of the constellations. Well, at one point later on, we found out that much of what he said was totally inaccurate. And it was astrology according to Prust. But it's a memory I'll never forget. I think that what's important to remember about Dick, and what we all remember, is that he inspired us, he challenged us, he engaged us. He was and remains a guide, and after that trip, just so you guys know, we started calling him Ranger Dick. So he continued to guide us as a ranger. He continued to mentor us, to teach us, to support us, and to be our friend for years and years and years. He still joins my class of 74 group once a year, almost every year, for a reunion. And we have 6 or 8 of us that get together with wives, and Dick's there. It is with great pleasure that I introduce as this year's recipient of the Distinguished Merit Award, the Reverend Dr. Ranger Dick Prust.